If you have homework to do right now, if you have something productive that you're supposed to be doing, but you're sitting here watching YouTube, click off the video right now and just go do your work. I'm telling you, there's always going to be time to come back here when you're free to watch these videos, but let's keep it real. You spend your free time watching college admissions videos, you might be watching some kind of self-improvement videos. These videos make you feel like you're being productive, like you're learning something, the dopamine in your head's going off, you feel kind of good because it feels comforting to think that you know more than other people and that you're getting ahead. But by watching these videos, you're not actually taking action. You're learning something, and in your free time, this is way better to be watching than some Netflix show. But you're still not doing anything. If you have homework, pause the video, go do it. I feel like I don't get enough of an opportunity to express this on my YouTube channel. I make mistakes. I have made a ton of mistakes in regards to resume building and my college applications throughout my time in high school. And I want to use this video to go over some of the lessons that I just wish someone had told me. And that's even though I'm happy with how everything turned out and, making those mistakes, even after that I was still fine. If we imagine a hypothetical world where I knew this information, and in the real world where you guys know this information, it can just make your experience so much better. The likelihood of you finding success and being able to get onto the path that you're looking for, get into the school that you want, just goes up by knowing a couple of these things. So lock in, let's get into it. For the majority of your time in high school, you're grinding on college applications without understanding what a college application actually is. What does it look like? What are you, in the very end of this, actually going to put on your application? What do they ask you for in order to submit this to colleges? I used to talk to upperclassmen all the time to try to get a little bit more knowledge into how this college application process works. I used to reach out to college students and people in the dream programs to try to see if they had any tips. Not one person told me this. When it comes to actually submitting your college applications, you're very, very likely going to submit them to a tool called the Common App. Now, the way that the Common App works is they have a section for your activities, they have another section for your honors and awards, and then they have another section where you actually go ahead and write those college essays and add on these colleges that you want to apply to. Now, between these categories, let's talk about the activities section. Common App gives you space to list your top 10 activities in high school. That's it. You have space to list 10 activities, and those activities fill up very, very quickly. Any type of internship you're doing will go on as an activity. Any club you're involved in, any sport, any volunteering, any shadowing that you decide to do, all of these will take up a spot. In total, you have 10 spots to put in, ideally, at least 8 quality activities, and then if your bottom 2 activities aren't that valuable, it's okay. However, if you do all of your planning well from the start of high school, you can make sure that you're doing 10 activities in total in order to fill up all of these spots. I hate to be the person that comes out here and tells you to kind of gamify the college admissions process, but look, the world's only getting more competitive for here. College admissions is only getting more competitive for here. If you really care about getting into these top choice schools, you need to start doing some forward planning here. Think, do I have enough activities to fill the top 10 activities list section? And if I have too many activities, which activities might be worth dropping off now so that I can have a good list of 10 activities that I focused on, as opposed to doing 15 different clubs in high school and then having to drop off 5 because they don't even fit on your college application. Just like the activity section, there's also an honors and awards section. Now, this is a little bit different, but let's talk about it. You have space to list your top 5 awards. Now, for a lot of high schoolers, you'll fall into either one of 2 bins. Either you really don't have that many awards. A lot of the clubs you were involved in didn't really have a competition element. You didn't really go ahead and go out of your way to submit your initiative or your business plans into business competitions and get some awards there, or decide to compete in science olympiads or science fairs, so you're stuck with basically nothing. Or there's a group of high school kids who go crazy with it, right? Maybe you really go ahead and compete in science fairs, you win a bunch of awards, and then boom, you have over 5 awards and you have to decide what to put in there. But the majority of high schoolers fall into this smaller bin where you don't have that many awards and you need to figure out a way to get 5 awards on there without looking like your entire application is just kind of mediocre. The way that the Common App organizes it is that there are different levels to awards. It starts at the local, school, regional level, and then it builds all the way up to the national and international level. The best college applications are ideally going to have awards that range at that national, international level, or at least at that state level. You really don't want to have to be the person who's putting the, hey, I was the student of the week. I remember in my history history class, we had like this hot dog of the week award. And me and my homies used to low-key like clown on this idea of like, what if we just put this on our college application? Like, what is a college actually going to do and glean with it? Hopefully we're not in that situation. If you feel like you do not have 10 activities or 5 awards, you need to be doing a little bit of thinking here. How can I get myself to that level? Can I get involved in some more competition elements? This is something I've been recommending for a long time on my channel. Go ahead and get that going. Another mistake that I made in high school was not being ambitious enough in like my freshman year to go out there, try a bunch of clubs, and do more things. What you gotta understand is a little bit from the lens of like a college admissions officer, right? Ideally, when you start getting involved in a club, you have a little bit more longevity to it. Not just from an admissions perspective and the fact that it looks better when you do a club for 4 years as opposed to 3, but also from the fact that if you experiment a little bit more in your freshman year, you get oriented to different clubs and you figure out a little bit more about what you like. When you go on to pursue it deeper in sophomore and junior year, you have a foundation in that club to work off of. For me personally, I remember in my freshman year, I didn't even take like the club fair in high school seriously. I competed in science fairs in middle school and I knew that I wanted to do it in high school. Yet even when the club fair came and went, I didn't even sign up for science fair because personally, I didn't even know that this was how things worked. The first thing here is just making sure that you're cognizant of the way things work in your high school, how the clubs and systems all work. But the other thing that I wish that I did was get started on something like HOSA a little bit earlier. Now, I'm not the biggest advocate of HOSA. I did it for 1 year in 10th grade and then I just stopped doing it. But in my mind, when I look back on it, I easily had the time to just go ahead and do it in freshman year. If I had done this whole experiment with HOSA in freshman year and I learned that I didn't want to do it, or if I decided that, hey, you know, in my freshman, sophomore year, I have a little bit more time than later on, why don't I just at least do it for 2 years? And that way, the second year when I go ahead and do HOSA, I can compete at a much higher level. I'm way more experienced with it. I can at least get a leadership position in, and then boom, by starting a little bit earlier in high school, you can get so much more out of these clubs that seemingly by just doing it for 1 or 2 years in junior year or even in senior year don't seem to have much yield at that stage. One thing that I really struggled with in high school was maintaining a good balance between like friends and social life and school and academic work. From between the age of, I'd say, about 15 to 17. So from at least 10th grade to the end of 11th grade, I really didn't have friends like that. I had a couple close childhood friends that I would talk to every once in a while, but like, you know, you see those like Instagram reels or like TikToks or whatever where it's like dudes on their birthday and they get like 0 notifications on their phone. Like that was actually me in high school because all I did was work. And at the time, I thought I was doing something. Like we used to see all those like Sigma grind set videos, lone wolf doing your thing. I always thought that was kind of corny. I never went to that extent. But in my mind, I thought that, oh, you know, other people are out there, they're partying, they're having a good time, but I'm over here grinding and being productive. That was only true to an extent. The thing that I never really realized until I went to college was that by somewhat isolating myself in that kind of environment where I was only just working, grinding by myself, I missed out on the ability to be able to lean and rely on your friends to make things a little bit easier. When you have a strong, solid friend group, being able to do group projects in school, being able to study more effectively, being able to be more productive in your time outside of school while also keeping your mental health in good shape, all of these become possible. I'm still a firm believer in the fact that you should be locking in for certain periods of time when things really get difficult. But when things are not that difficult, when you have a little bit of free time in your summer break or winter break, you should have some friends that you go spend a couple days and hang out with. It's not just that you guys are being unproductive in that moment. That's like that time that you would spend hanging out with your friends, you really aren't dramatically transforming your life here. But what you are doing is setting the stage to be able to do some amazing things with these people. Maybe use them to start like a nonprofit or whatnot in the future, work on a specific science project or do something really cool with them. This is you being able to set these little seeds to do nice things in the future. Sometimes you don't have a very clear 100% pathway into doing something. You just have to take a little bit of a gamble here. And if you know you're surrounding yourself with good, high achieving people, these friends are worth your time to be hanging out with, even if in that moment it feels a little bit unproductive. Learn to keep a good balance between things. That's going to take you so far in life, and it's something that I wish I learned at an earlier age. When I think back to being younger in high school, there's something else that also stands out for me in regards to like productivity. When I was younger, I'd say up till around when I was 16 years old, the 10th grade of high school, I legitimately used to think that working out made me less productive. It would take away my energy and it just wasn't worth doing. The thing that you need to understand here is that in order to be productive long term, you need to try to keep your energy levels as high as possible. And that means that more than just trying to brute force your way through studying, through getting all your homework done, you're also making sure that you're keeping your body in phenomenal health, because that's the way you're going to be able to keep up that kind of rigor in the long run. Let's be real here, man. Colleges expect so much from high schoolers, like a literal non-adult adolescents. They expect you to do so many things. And I remember I was at one of my college interviews, like it was for a particular BSMD program. And my admissions officer is sitting there asking me like,
how do you have time for all of this?
And at some point I kind of mentioned that I kind of cut out playing video games and I just kind of locked in. And they got mad at me. They're like, yo, why don't you have time to do all these things? You should be playing video games. You should be having fun. I'm sitting here like, yo, if you guys didn't make your college this hard to get into, I would be doing those things. But let's be real, you really don't have that much time, especially as you get into your junior, senior year, to be having all of these, eating junk food, going out all the time, grinding on things like video games. You want to make sure you're prioritizing your health. The earlier you start working out, the better. I'm going to give you the raw advice here. The first couple times you work out, you are going to feel more tired than if you hadn't worked out. That's what I think really threw me off when I was younger, because after a workout session or after a long studying session, I remember my parents literally telling me, my dad looking at me like,
"Go, get out of the house, go on a run."
And me just sitting there like a little lazy ass, like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. I'm already feeling tired. No, going on that run might feel a little bit painful now, but tomorrow when you recover from that run, you'll notice that your energy levels are 1% higher. It might not be like a one day after day difference, but you do those runs for 1 to 2 weeks, instantly you start to notice that you feel better, you feel more productive, you get better sleep, and you can actually do more things in a day. Part of being able to grind for this entire college application process involves grinding on yourself first, making sure that you prioritize your own personal growth in order to enable all the other amazing things that you want to be able to do mentally and with your community. If you want more advice like this, where I go a little bit unscripted and just give you the raw input here, I also have a TikTok account, which I'm going to be posting a lot more on in the near future. Go ahead and if you use TikTok, check that out. I'm going to be posting a lot more of these like shorter videos on there, but not like the YouTube shorts that I post. These are just going to be like unfiltered, my opinion on different things, giving you the rundown of how college admissions works, and some of the content is going to be just exclusive to that platform. So if you don't want to miss out on that, go ahead and check that out. Thank you all so much for watching. I've been loving the support on the video. I cannot appreciate you guys enough. Peace.